So hi, as you can see, I am Nabaarun Barooah and I am on trail with Dr. Sonali Ghosh, the field director of Kaziranga National Park and Tiger Reserve. She is the first Indian to be awarded with the IUCN Miller Award for innovation in national parks and protected area sustainability. Ma'am, firstly, it's an absolute honor to be on trail with you. I would want to first start off by asking you what are the leading innovation projects that you have taken up during your tenure that has helped IUCN confer upon this honor on you, and what this means for the Indian conservation community going forward.
No, thank you so much, Nabaarun. It's really nice to meet a bright young team of you all. You are yourself quite a celebrity. Well, I think I'm very much honored and humbled to receive this award on behalf of the forest department, the forest frontline, because essentially, innovations in parks can only happen when the team works together. So, I've been in the service for last 25 years. I started my career in Kaziranga as young as you probably, I was a probationer here. And then I was very lucky that I could serve in some of the best, finest protected areas, not just in the state but also in the country. I was in Manas, I was in Chakrashila. Chakrashila interestingly has a very interesting animal which is of my name, probably,
Yeah.
the Sonali Bandor.
Sonali Ghosh.
So it was like, I think, because my place of work was so exciting, I think I was able to, sort of get the sort of experience that would be required to bring in innovation. Now coming to what exactly I would have done, well, I think we worked towards the community linkages. We wanted that parks should be people's parks, and not just, of course, we have done well in protecting our wildlife. We have, we have the world's largest population of the one-horned rhino, the third highest density of tigers in the world. We have 99% of the buffaloes. But all this is only important when the community appreciates,
Yes.
when the people, when the youth like you can appreciate. So I think we did good in that, in terms of getting the park to be, promoted and writing about it, documenting it for the people to appreciate. Yes.
Absolutely, ma'am. One thing that I have definitely noticed is there exists man-animal conflicts everywhere.
Yes.
I have heard stories from my friends who went to Ranthambore and they would say that there's a lot of conflicts on the outskirts.
Yes.
I think Kaziranga for one place has a lot of acceptance among the local population for animals and the biodiversity that exists here.
Yes.
And I think that's a tremendously wonderful job that you and your team have done. And I would really like to know that what is your approach in bringing people together to build that sort of acceptance where people themselves feel a part of the park.
You're very right. I think what is important in terms of getting a park to be successful is to have the community support. I worked in Kaziranga and Manas, which are interestingly both are World Heritage Sites, and I have seen the difference in terms of the community support that we are able to get now in Kaziranga, which is has been there because of years of hard work. Kaziranga was constituted as a sort of a protected area in 1905, and since then, from 1905, 1938, it became a game sanctuary. 1974, it became a national park. So over years, over decades, people have worked hard to, get the rhino population in a thriving manner. And because of that, the communities take a pride, in protecting. Whoever you ask, if you see any advertisement that comes out of Assam, there is tea, of course, there is Kamakya, and there is a rhino.
There's a rhino.
So I think that way we've really done well in terms of how the Assam, the state, the communities are able to take pride in Kaziranga. And I think the simple reason why it has happened is because of the years of the connect and the conservation, which has helped sort of showcase that yes, this is a park which will help in conserving the animal. And also, of course, if you look at it from the tangible aspects in terms of how people are benefiting, we are in Kaziranga right now. It's around 1300 square kilometers, and the national park has over roughly, I would say, around 800 gypsies, which are plying in this, which are entirely owned by the communities. So there is a direct benefit. Then there are over 200 hotels, homestays, resorts. So there is a lot of employment. So the people know that yes, if we sort of love Kaziranga will love us back.
We were talking about how if we conserve the animals, then we can instill some sense of pride. Then people also take it up as their own.
Absolutely.
You have probably seen this place for longer than most of us have been around. And one of the success stories, most obvious success stories, is that while we were growing up, I think 2013, 14, we would hear around 20 plus, 27, 25 rhinos keep getting poached. And now we have almost come to a point where 0 rhinos were poached in 2022, and it has been drastically coming down 1 or 2 mishappenings a year. What sort of effort did it take on your part and your team to come to that sort of mammoth success in protecting rhinos from poaching?
Yes. So as I said that, rhino conservation, and especially, getting this whole sort of our forest front line to protect the rhino has been the key, objective in Kaziranga. If you see that over the years we have built camps, we have built anti-poaching camps inside the forest. So we are one of the highest camp to area ratio in the world. We have one anti-poaching camp per 5 square kilometers compared to one per 30 square kilometers in South Africa. So the investment in foot soldiers in the forest front line. My team in Kaziranga is over 1,300 people, and these people, day and night, they are serving the forest. They are patrolling. They are taking care that no intruders, no poachers coming, and that's another reason why from that era to now, 2012, 2013, we have almost come to zero poaching.
I was privileged enough to meet a lot of people during the last 2 safaris that I went for some years. Most of them are really, really young boys and girls. And how do you train that staff to take up shoulder a responsibility that is this big? Not to stay deep into the night in jungles, or do you have technological aid that helps them in the night as well?
Very good question, Ravi. I think to be in this service and to be in this job, one must have passion. You have to have the interest, otherwise it can become very difficult. Unfortunately, the kind of people we get here, they tend to love this sort of if you're sitting in a camp and in the nature's lap, you are seeing animals, you are seeing fresh air, and so that's a different sense of peace. It's a different sense of happiness. So unless one likes it, it's very difficult to survive here, and that's why many people who don't like it move on. They get transferred or whatever. So it is the Mother Nature herself which sort of helps people to be at peace with where they are. But very important, yes, it's not just that. It's technology. It's also incentives. Like for example, to work in wildlife areas, because it's tough. You are for years, for months, you're away from your family. So there are additional allowances. And I think you can see buffaloes and
Is that a tiger that's walking? Or
it's a buffalo. Yeah, it's a buffalo. Buffalo calf.
Okay.
It looked like a tiger.
The color of...
Yeah, it's a young buffalo calf.
Okay.
But there was a call, either it was something there. That's it's a woolly neck store.
Okay.
Oh no, this is a grey-headed fishing eagle. This one.
Okay.
It's been there. And that's a buffalo calf. We didn't see rhinos, but we can see rhinos on the other edge of the this thing. Yeah, can you see rhinos? Do you want to use binoculars? But yeah, that really looked like the tiger because of the. So yeah, so basically we help in giving them technology, we give them financial incentives, and we try to make them as comfortable as possible. So the older generation, especially the recruits who are from the era of, let's say, 1980s or 70s, who are of an age of 40 plus, they are sort of, they are like, they are happy to work here. The younger generation, because they are the ones who are more exposed to, let's say, technology, would have been a challenge, how do you sort of orient them for living in such a condition? Because the camps don't have, you can see those two camps there
Yes.
on the, so these camps are like literally cut off. They don't have electricity. They don't have, drinking water is from the water pump. So this is the ancestor of all the KFC chicken. How do you sort of motivate them to live in such areas? So, A, there is ration which is given. Number two, of course, equipment. And then we try to, sort of sometimes give them leave to go home. I mean, it's not easy, but then we do have a plan.
Describe how you motivate young people to do this. My next question would be, how were you motivated to do this? Because I've had the chance to read up on you a little when you grew up around army cantonments, shifting from one part of the country to another. How did you get into nature conservation? Was it a calling because of your love to be in the wild, or is it something else?
Yeah, no, honestly, Nabaarun, I mean, of course, the fact that I grew up in cantonments, which are, fairly, they are like within nature and like, large areas. So that would have been somewhere there in unconsciously in my mind that yes, maybe this is what I would like to do. So I was always oriented towards that. My generation was more of, where parents wanted their children to either be a doctor or an engineer. And I failed miserably in being a medical doctor. So then I thought, okay, I mean, I can't be that, but at least I can take a science. So I guess it was a very shaky start, honestly. And I was a very average student and average kid. But then I took the college time, and by the time I, got into my master's, I got out the best, master's education in the country's topmost college, the Wildlife Institute. So I think that was a turning point. It's like, when you realize, okay, this is your calling, in life. Yeah.
How did your training in the Wildlife Institute actually equip you with the skills to work on this?
Yeah, so the course that I did in wildlife is basically, it's called a master's in wildlife, and they sort of equip you with the techniques which is required to read a forest. So for example, whether it's a buffalo or for that matter an elephant or a tiger, what does a tiger eat? Or which are the ways to understand tiger behavior. So they equipped us with those techniques. The college took us to some of the finest protected areas, including Kaziranga. I came here in way back in '96 as a student. So that sort of helped me sort of gear up, because once you have the training and the skill set, then your perception of the task becomes very different, and maybe that's the reason why when I did that, I came to if I joined the service, it is easier for me to look up or opt for wildlife areas.
How did can you share your experience in working in places like Manas early in your career, and how did you learn it? If there are any interesting stories that you would like to share, and how it took you here to Kaziranga?
So, Manas and Kukarhat were, I mean, it's like they say for the young people, first love you can never forget. So similarly, it's like that for me. I was a young officer. My first posting was in Kolkata. I was a DFO, I was young, I was, more sort of, like full of ideas that, okay, this can be right. So definitely my memories are very, very fresh and, sort of, I kind of, cherish those memories. And we used to keep experimenting at that time, this is way back in 2007, 9 and so on. So, that was because when you were a young officer, you we tend to sort of, try out something, and have that sort of how do I put it, like a streak of recklessness. You want to sort of, like, okay, if the helmet is mandatory, we go without helmets. So I was like that, perhaps like a bit of a, and one very interesting thing which sort of gives us a bit of satisfaction is that I was a DFO, and then somebody came in with two cups, and very small cups. We knew they were, some white cat. Most of at first glance we thought, okay, they are like leopard cups, because that's very common. So then they said that they have, they wanted us to take it. So we took them, and we were debating, okay, they are leopard cubs and we don't think we can keep them. We said, okay, we might as well, send them to the zoo. Then on second thoughts, when somebody else looked at it, they said, no, these are not leopard cubs, these are clouded leopard cubs. And clouded leopard, which is, it's very, very rare. And until then, nobody in the country has ever, kept clouded leopard cubs and raised them. So we took it up as a challenge. We said, fine, we have got them, and let us try to, see if we can release them back into the wild and not have a life of captivity. So thankfully we got help. We got the Center for Wildlife Rescue Rehabilitation, which is run by Wildlife Trust of India. Some very apt, very able vets, Dr. Panjit and Dr. Bhaskar, who were also awarded last year by the Assam government. So they helped us, and it was again a trial and error because nobody knew how to keep the clouded leopard cubs. So then we started. Then they were, how do you teach them to hunt? So the keeper used to climb up trees, and they used to climb up with him. So he became the mother. Then there were chickens to be, in their enclosure, and they would be, asked to. So we tried to skill them with all this, sort of techniques they require to live in the wild. And thankfully we succeeded, because after a year, these two cubs, Runa and Kata, they were released into the wild with a collar to see whether they'd survive or not. And it was very, very happy news that they actually survived.
That's lovely.
They I mean, the collar life was for a year, and they were doing perfectly well. Yes.
Are they still there in the wild?
Oh, should be. I mean, it depends, because yeah, I mean, it's been years, but we hope that they're children now.
Yeah.
If not, then that is, yeah.
I mean, that's a lovely conservation story. Would you still describe yourself as somewhat of a rebel now that you're in a much senior position? And do you think that, can you share certain such stories from your time in Kaziranga?
Question. Well, I think with my age and my weight, I don't think I can afford to be a rebel. No, I think what happens with age and maturity is that the whatever the gene for the rebel is what goes down, and this thing happens. One is at peace with oneself and others. So I don't think I'm a rebel anymore, but I also know my priorities. I think I'm now not anymore to sort of please others or do something. It is something which I can do right. and to have that ownership that okay, whether we do well or we don't, but to take that ownership that yes, this is what I did. I tried my level best. So I think both the phases are important.
Yes.
One must be a rebel, but one must also be at peace with oneself. The migratory birds have started to come,
Yes,
so there is a rhino there. Yes. It's a rhino. And yeah.
Is this a trail known for tigers?
Yes, it is. It is definitely known for. And this is like the eastern range, which is best for migratory birds.
Currently, how many tigers are there in the park?
We have 148 as per, the way we count our tigers, you're aware? Yeah, so it's a very interesting way because we place remotely sense camera traps. Right? We like imagine this is a trail, okay? So what we do is that we put two cameras on both the sides, and then we are able to, so these are remotely sensed cameras, and then any animal or anything which moves goes in, so it triggers a a photograph, and then we get the camera, the tiger pictures, and like humans who have our thumbprint is unique, which is our Aadhaar card. For the tigers, the stripes is their Aadhaar card. So the stripes, each tiger has is unique, and then what happens is that we feed all these pictures into a software, and then the software is able to tell us how many tigers. So like last year we had 12 lakh photographs. I mean, including us, everybody, elephant sniffing the camera, all that. So we've had that, and out of that, around 4 lakh tiger photographs. And then it's the team, like we have a tiger cell, our researchers, our biologists, they look at it, segregate, and we were able to come up with it.
So after it goes into the software, it's a manual task for people to sit and identify.
It is. No, so to even put it into the software in a manner which can be calibrated, it's a lot of manual tasks. Imagine 13 lakh photographs, so you have to sort them out, and you have to collect it from the cameras, you have to date them, you have to number them. Then you have to figure out which are the good ones, and then again catalog them, area wise. So that's a huge task. And once we do it, it gets into once it is ready for the software, it is not very difficult. But the entire process, and especially when you have such a high density, it becomes quite tedious. Yes. Yeah.
So for an area like this, which is so huge and so much work needed to put this into the system.
Yes.
What kind of support do you get? Is it Project Tiger that helps you do it, or do state government?
Yeah, so it's both, So, like for example, as I told you, that Kaziranga is spread across 5 districts. It has a total area of 1,300 square kilometers. We roughly have around 1,400, ground staff and all that. So their entire budget and our entire salaries, everything is managed by the state government. And other than that, whatever development we do, for example, if I have to sometimes construct a bridge, or for that matter, I have to count my tigers. For that, we have the Project Tiger funding, because they support, they sort of pitch in as an added resource. Other than that, another revenue source is our tourism. So for every vehicle which goes in, we get 100 rupees per person. So that over the years has become pretty good. Like last year we had 5 lakh tourists, and so that added to almost 10 crores of revenue. So this is how the Kaziranga model has been sustained.
I wanted to ask you, as a national park, it's not just conservation, you also look at it from a revenue generating model. But at the same time, the most important thing for you is also to conserve the animals and make it a safe space so that wildlife can keep growing. How do you balance both?
Yeah, so I think one thing is very clear, that tourism can never sustain a park. It's not possible, because the tourism window is just 5 months. It's like we started in October, and by April, we'll have rains. So it's not as if that we are only dependent on this, and we are one of the better sort of tourist revenue parks. But many places like Orang, or they don't get many tourists. So it's definitely, this is something which we are doing more out of the outreach aspect. We are not doing it from the revenue point of view. We are trying to create awareness. We are trying to get the goodwill of the people, that they come into the park, they see, and they just feel happy about it. So that has been. And regarding our own resources, yes, it's never enough, but it is also something where we as forest officials, that's my job, that's my job as a director, that how do I get my resources, how do I sort of get it. So we try different ways. Like, we have very recently gone big on CSR support, because we have a lot many Maharatnas. We have companies which are willing to, and they're happy to do it because it's part of their mandate. So we have been able to tap into many of them. So in fact, buffaloes, we have 99% of the global population of buffaloes is in Assam. Yeah, there are only 3 or 4 of them which are in Chhattisgarh. And then this is like, we have over 3,000 buffaloes. And Manas has, Bobidura has, every other protected area has, but we have the highest. So we when we say Kaziranga, we are saying about the big five. Yes. So of course the rhino, the elephant, the buffalo, then we have the tiger and the swamp deer or the barasinga. So the swamp deer is again a very interesting species. It's one of the largest deer, and there are 3 different subspecies which are found in 3 different locations. So one is Assam, other is Kana in Madhya Pradesh, and the third is Dudhwa, Tatania Ghat, and that way. And again, there are 3. All of them are different. So yeah, they're different subspecies. So like this is called the eastern swamp deer, and the other. And interestingly, the swamp deer from Kaziranga have also been moved to Manas. And the rhinos, of course, that Manas used to have roughly around 80 to 85 rhinos, till 90s. And then the conflict happened, and all these rhinos were pushed out. So there was a time when there was zero, like the rhinos were completely pushed out. Then this whole, sort of conservation movement started, and they said that, let us put back the rhinos back into Manas. But then where do you put it from? So then it was Kaziranga, Bobidura, and the rhinos were captured, and then they were taken, released back into And on a clear day, it's so beautiful here. You can see that, those clouds, those are basically the Eastern Himalayas. So, in fact, since you're an author, there's this very famous EPG, who wrote The Wildlife of India. He was a tea planter in the 1950s, and he wrote a lot, actually on the wildlife in Assam. So he wrote that you can stand on a clear day and you can see the Himalayas. So which is very good. And and so the day-to-day challenges for us are like, for example, like this water body. Now this water body is a backwater, like not very far from here is Brahmaputra and Hansari Nadi. These flood waters will recharge our water bodies. Yeah, so it's like our floods and the water bodies are like a washing machine. We want the floods so that if we Metica, the water hyacinth, everything goes out. So last year we had a very big flood.
Yeah.
And it was good and bad because we got our water bodies were cleared of the invasive
Yes.
species. We this, but it was also challenging because animals
Yes.
moved out, and then we had to put a lot of all our efforts went on the highway because we had to protect the animals. But this year we didn't have a very nice flood. So we would have seen, so it's like almost like it's drying up in many
Yes.
areas. So it's worrying for us
Okay.
because if there is no water, then our animals will get stressed out.
Yes.
They'll move around, they'll move out of the park. So this time we are a little sort of confused as to what will happen. But maybe that is climate change.
Yes.
Maybe it is something where because it's raining. This time of the year it's unusual, but it rained. Yeah.
Like you mentioned, I think 2024 was one of the worst floods that you see.
Exactly.
How do you protect species in such times? The other question is also that because of floods and looking at the Brahmaputra, the way erosion happens, a lot of land mass in Kaziranga is also getting wiped out by the Brahmaputra each year.
Yes.
How do you protect the...
Yeah. Answering your first question on the high floods, we were very fortunate that because Kaziranga gets a lot of support. It's like there's political will there. So like the Honorable Chief Minister, he himself came on the 15th of June here, and he took a review meeting that how are we prepared for floods, which was very, very, no, where else would you find, somebody coming and reviewing that how your preparedness are for a park. So that helped us because we got a lot of interdepartmental coordination. And it was just what to say, it was some sort of a, like 15 June was the meeting, and on the 1st and 2nd of July we had the
Yes,
wave
the
of
first
floods.
wave.
Yeah, it came in. And we were very, very fortunate that immediately, because we had this SOP and we were able to put it into force. So then, the convoy system started.
Okay.
So the first 2 days of the massive flood, actually the vehicles were diverted.
Okay.
They were, moved on the Tesco route. And after the second day, when the flood waters were a bit lesser, then the convoy system happened. And there, the buses, the people, they were moved with escorts and a limited speed. If there was a big herd of animals moving, then it was stopped. So we got a lot of support, from the district, from others, and not just them. We also, like for example, animal rescue. So. Very interesting. Like last year, I remember we had 3 cases of rhinos which had strayed out, and these are like mother and calf. So if the mother is running somewhere and because everything is flooded and the animals they are stressed. So we had 3 cases where the rhino calf had just moved out and got into somebody's house.
Okay.
And it was like lost. It was a baby and it was lost and it was just staying there because it didn't know where to go. So it is so good here that, as I was telling about communities, that they informed us immediately rather than harming it or thinking that what do we do. So they immediately informed us, and then immediately we had this rescue center team, our veterinarians. We went there, and after a sort of a like a proper this thing exercise, we were able to rescue the animal. Of course, we couldn't find the mother. So then what do you do with such animals, because she's too young, the rhino we rescued, and we realized that we can't release it back alone because it will get attacked by animals, or it will. So it is still with us in the rescue center, and it is being taken care of by animal keepers like we did for the cloud and leopard cubs. And so that is another very unique thing about Kaziranga, that we have a dedicated rescue center for flood animals, which is now functional for the last 22 years.
Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely. And also, I'm really fascinated by the tiger. I just love it.
Okay.
We spotted a tiger.
Oh really?
Yes, ma'am.
अरे आप लोग क्या वो काकू साइकिल को लेके गया था क्या?
नहीं नहीं.
He's the one who's you saw it in Kohra?
Yes, ma'am. They saw it in Kohara.
And we are the first vehicle to enter at around 7:30. And then at 7:36, right after entering, first we saw some movement in the water.
Okay.
So we saw monitor lizard cross by. We got very good clips and we were very excited about to leave. Some minutes later, another movement and we saw a tiger chasing.
Happy actually.
Yes, ma'am.
Yesterday we opened Kohara and we have had daily tiger sightings now. We have now crazy people coming in.
In terms of tiger conservation also, Kaziranga has done a fantastic job. Both tigers and animals.
Yes. Yeah, we have now got the highest after COVID and Bandipur. So, although it's less known for tigers, and since you are from political science, so this whole rhino thing about Kaziranga, so here you cannot upgrade tigers without talking about the rhino. So very interesting. That Project Tiger happened in 73 and they had to pick up parks. So it was not Kaziranga, it was Manas, which was part of that. Because they said, no, this is for rhinos. And then after that, when Project Tiger happened in 2005 and 6, they again said, let us make this as a tiger reserve. The people protested them. They said, no, we will not make it a tiger reserve because our focus on the rhino conservation will go. And it was overnight, very quietly, that then park director, he took a paper and, he sent it. Because it was, otherwise there was so much of agitation here that you should not. And the reason is that people thought that, oh, it will take away the focus, which is not true. What Project Tiger did, it strengthened the existing management system. It secured, it gave us a funding scheme which was there for all, forever. It's like it's a scheme it's a flagship scheme of the government. So it gave us that. It never said that don't look at rhinos. So, but that's the public perception. They thought it's just because of the name that it's Project Rhino. Because we do have a Project Rhino, by the way. We have it in the government of India, but we do not have enough funds in it. It has not been able to sort of garner the attention which Project Rhino.
I actually wanted to ask you because before coming here, I also had a conversation with people around Koliyabad about this same thing. So what they, so one of the, but I don't know that much about conservation. But what I wanted to ask is, if you're promoting Project Tiger here, and because tigers produce a lot of litters and with several cubs, whereas rhinos have a longer period of incubation. I think that's one time they don't produce one cub per month.
And they don't go into conflict as
So, is there a fear that once it crosses a certain threshold and the food cycle is interrupted, can they come after young rhino cubs and can it disturb the balance of the park?
Well, they still do, So the rhino, the young ones, the calves that's why they are heavily guarded by the mother. So, till the time they are 3 to 4 years, they are just with the mother. And the mother is pretty ferocious. She is like, she can actually attack. And that's the reason why many of our forest frontline, they get very badly mauled. They get injured because, a sudden rhino charge and they bite very badly. So the rhino mother is very, very alert. She knows that, I have to, because it's a, it's a young calf and for a tiger it's like, great chunk of,
Yes.
And so they like, okay, the one done and, they're sorted. So it is there. But, having said that, there's one rough estimate in Kaziranga that there are around 50,000 to 80,000 of hog deer.
Yes.
Which is great, It's like it can, people ask me, oh, have the tiger numbers increased? But if you look at the number of the prey base, the tiger is still surviving only on the wild animals. We don't have instances here so much compared to other areas where the tiger has gone out and eaten a cow or a buffalo.
Yes.
Like you must have heard of these very classic in UP. They have called the sugarcane tigers.
Yes.
So these tigers have learned to live in sugarcane fields and prey on domestic cattle. But here they don't need to. So and tiger is such a large-hearted gentleman, as they call him. It's like they call him the striped monk, and they don't go into people's areas unless it's a sort of something where they cannot do anymore. So in case of Kolyabor example, if you see the records of the last 2-3 years of the straying out, it is mostly the sub-adult. It's mostly a female, and these are animals which are either going out for territories or they have been chased out. A female is also protective of her cubs because she has to protect them from the male, because the male is going to come and then kill her cubs. So she becomes even more cautious. So even in the prime habitats, she would not want to go in. She would like to be on the edge. So it has been like that. Now, so what is the answer? What is the solution? Because we have to live with animals. I keep telling this to many people that one of the unique things about Assam, which I find and I really appreciate, is that we have wildlife in my backyard syndrome. Even in Guwahati, if you see, people will tell you about Johomols.
Yes.
They will say, oh, we've seen this. If you go to Amshang, they'll tell about elephants. So it is nowhere else. Where else, would you find elephants in Delhi or in Calcutta? We'll never find them. So we have to learn to live with them. And perhaps there is a requirement of either doing a behavior change or a sort of, lifestyle change or something where we understand. See, when you look at the kind of instances of mortality due to human-animal conflict, it is essentially either with elephants or this thing. If you compare that with road accidents, are much higher, killing people than this. When we go out on the road, what do? We wear a helmet. Yes. Or whenever we are doing something dangerous, if we are even, going in a malaria-prone area, we put a mosquito net. So why can't we think of, doing that when we are living with big animals, around us? And there are simple, lifestyle aspects like, not venturing into the forest early morning, or for that matter, not sort of, going alone or in the dark and so on, or in classic cases, not storing paddy or country liquor, in your house, which the elephants can smell. So, these are some of the things which might, sort of give a win-win situation. I would personally feel that we haven't reached a carrying capacity because the animals are dispersing and they are going out into their own areas. They don't like to be in cities. They don't like to be in Kolyabor for sure. So so we have had evidence now. The rhinos have reached Dibru-Sekwa. They've gone up to Lakhimpur because that was their original home. So they are going back there.
Yes.
See, the big moon has come out and there's a plate. Oh, wow, that's
That's the moon.
That's I think going to Itanagar. There's an airport, no? The
Yes, ma'am.
Airport.
Solitary areas, they don't usually have overlapping territories, like males will not have. So there is always a chance of the park constantly expanding beyond its present size.
Yes.
So what happens then? Because there are also people living on the outskirts who have been here also for many years, many generations.
Yes.
How do you then bring together humans and animals? Rather some places around the park, they can't light halogen lights after a certain point of time in the night. So there could be some sort of tension in keeping in mind that society itself is moving towards a non-communitarian way of life. How do you think that it's delicate and conflicts that exist?
See, for me, I think I would like to say that the rhino at one point of time, history, they were less than 25 probably. Lady Curzon came in 1905 and she said she couldn't find a single rhino. Now imagine that time And now, so 1966 we had the first rhino counted here, the scientific one, and they roughly counted around 300 rhinos. Now we have 3,000. But even that 3,000 is not what we say is that if there is some, God forbid, some disease, something, and completely wipes out, that we will not be able to save this beautiful animal. So we have to reach a certain level where we can say that yes, this animal is now no longer endangered. With rhinos, they were earlier endangered. With good conservation, now they have been upgraded. They are no longer endangered, but they are vulnerable. So they are like that. So the balance will only come when our species reaches that level. Number one, we will have to then think of, okay, maybe moving them from here to somewhere else. Like I said, in case of Manas, like in case of buffalo, we know that we have 99%. Chhattisgarh has only 3 buffaloes. So, and they have taken buffaloes, from Manas and other areas. So there will be a requirement where we say, okay, we can't have too many people and too many animals living together. We might want to move them, or maybe some sort of other measures, like in case of macaques or monkeys. Now people are talking a lot about population control, moving them into rescue centers, because they have become an urban menace in many places. So I appreciate that, yes, in some cases we have to do that, but not in case of areas like Kaziranga and all, because still it is the population is vulnerable, it's susceptible to poaching, it's susceptible to disease, it's susceptible to floods which can create mortality. And regarding the people, of course, one must appreciate that this was always their home. The Kaziranga was theirs. And also not just that, people have also contributed. Like earlier, the Kaziranga National Park was only around 500 square kilometers. The rest was all people for them, and they have voluntarily given away their land. They have said, okay, if Kaziranga has to come in, we are happy to move on. So there were kutis, there were, these things which have gone in. It is about, how do you get a win-win for people? Like in Kaziranga, people who were earlier, cultivators or farmers, I'm sure they still do, but they see a better incentive to be tour operators or tourism. So they have taken to tourism. Yes. So that is the thing, the sort of the occupation change, which has helped sustain,
That's a great answer. Since you also coming at the end of the trail, I have one closing question. You said you were in the trail for 25 years. You've given me a lovely gist of how things were when you first came here and how things have evolved over the period of 25 years. But I want to ask you, how do you view Kaziranga 10 years down the line? What do you think would be your vision? Where do you see this park going? And what do you
I'm very lucky that I'm during the golden period of Kaziranga. It's all my predecessors, the front line, and everybody who has worked for so long, and they have been able to, get us these glory. I also tell people that Kaziranga is on autopilot. I say that officers will come and go, but it's the front line truly and the communities which will continue to work this and they will continue to protect. So 10 years down the line, I think Kaziranga will be probably the #1 park in the world in terms of its conservation success, in terms of its keeping and living with communities. It would be there. In terms of the animals, probably they'll be like 10 years of zero poaching, and we would be able to sleep peacefully and say that okay, now we are fine with it.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us on this trail. And I really hope that whatever you have dreamt and whatever vision you have left behind for Kaziranga will definitely be carried forward, and it will definitely one day become the #1.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.